I was a bright child. I was born in 1954.
Were you staying at home or you were in the boarding section?
I wasn't in the boarding section. I was coming from home. It's about 3 miles away, but still I would travel. Footing. I performed very well. I got first grade.
Wow.
And it enabled me to join Mount St. Mary's Namagunga. So I joined S1 in 1968, 72. That is when I sat for my O-level examination. At that time it was called East African Certificate.
Father, njagala oyogereko n'abazadde nga balonda amasomero.
My word was always no. I was teaching English language and literature. 118 distinctions. It's D1 and 2. And the worst that year was a credit 4.
Please, can you give us some trick behind that success? Mami, should we say you were not depending only at the salary?
Because I was hardworking, I made sure that they had milk, they had eggs, I had cows.
How did you balance your time?
No, I taught my children to work.
How could you handle your finance to the level that you even reached the level of paying for school fees?
For me, there was never money that I called mine.
Tubaniriza nnyo bassebo ne bannyabo abatulaba ku mukutu gwa Winners TV Yogi n'emikutu emirala. Amanya guterisa sheno tugiyita speak out. Wetwaniriza abantu ab'enjawulo abali successful mu bulamu, abalinako kye batuuseeko mu bulamu, abalina obulamu batambuddeko. Ng'ekigenwa kya sheno tuba twagala omuntu atubulyeko obulamu abukoze atya, ayiseemu atya era asakisidiza atya. Nga omuntu atulaba olwaleero ogenda kuyiga obulamu osobola butambuza otya. Tuwereddwa omukisa tukyaziza omuntu wavunaanyizibwa nnyo, mukyala mukulu atambudde obulamu bwe successfully. Akoleddeko government, akozeeko mu institutions ez'enjawulo ennene ddala z'ogenda owulira. Mukyala mufumbo, alina abaana, alina n'abazzukulu. Obulamu bwe bwatambudde kyakuyiga kinene eri omulembe guno n'omulembe ogenda okuddako. So ngenda kusaba gwatulaba wolabira video eno yonna ojja gishalinga ne munno atwegatteko naye ejja mukola bulungi mu linnya erya Mukama waffe Yesu. Neyanjulira dda, so munzikirize mbanjulire omugenyi waffe then atubuuzeeko n'oluvannyuma tujja kuba tugenda mu maaso atunyumizeeko emboozi ye, olugondo lwatambudde atya, atuuse atya wano watuuse, akikoze atya okufuuka kyafuuse leero. Mami tusanyuse okukulabako.
Nange nasanyusa okubeera nammwe wano.
Yes.
Neyanziza nnyo okunkyaza. Buli omu andaba mbeebazizza nnyo okutuwuliriza n'okubeera naffe wano we tuli. Amiina.
Nja kusaba obuulireko abatulaba amannya gwani then tujja tandikira awo ndowooza.
Amannya gange yenze Mrs. Aidah Birabi.
Mrs. Aidah
Birabi. Born of Manafa district.
Yes.
I was born in 1954.
1954. Yes.
And my parents were, one of them, the father was a veterinary doctor. My mother was purely a housewife. And my primary education was in a school called Magali Girls.
Yeah, we hear that by then, before you start going to school, the test was a hand. Did you go through the same experience, and at what age did you start to go to school?
I stayed in Kenya with my grandmother for some time, so when I started school I was a little older than my age mates of P1. I was, I think, 2 years ahead of my colleagues, but still I did not find that a problem. We bonded with them, and when I started school, it was not difficult because I was a bright child. And in most of the classes I excelled. I was either number 1 or number 2. Whenever I was number 3, I would feel bad. I would work hard. The following term, I would find myself excelling.
So you studied primary in a school?
In a school called Magali Girls.
Magali Girls.
It was headed by a white nun. She was from she was a white nun from I think Norway. So she was there with us up to P7. She liked me very much, and in P6 and P7 she trusted me so much. A white trusting you with the marking of your fellow students' exercise books, because she knew mine was okay. So she would call me to her office. I would mark her the books for her. She trusted me that much, and she liked me so much. And when I finished, when I came to P7, she made sure she puts me in a school that she really feels happy with. So
before we finish up primary 7, were you staying at home or you were in the boarding section?
I wasn't in the boarding section. I was coming from home. And it was about 3 miles away. But still I would travel.
Footing. Exactly.
Actually, it was footing. I would
3 miles.
3 miles to school until I came to P7. That is when I joined the boarding.
But the school had boarding section?
Yes. I joined the P7. I joined the boarding in P7.
How comes that you joined in P7? Was it the issue of the finance, or
no? It was because the parents felt that I could do it, and still, whether I was in boarding or outside boarding, I was still a bright child.
No, I'm just considering the distance. Being that the distance was very long, that's why I'm asking. You would have entered at least boarding when you are still in the lower classes because of the distance from home to school.
But considering the fact that my parents were more or less village-based, they felt it was the order of the day for a child to walk to school and back. There were other schools nearby, but they preferred this one because it was a good school.
So you were done with primary 7. How did you perform?
I performed very well. I got first grade.
Wow.
And it enabled me to join Mount St. Mary's Namagunga.
St. Mary's Namagunga.
And with such a school, of course, you had to be a bright student. You had to perform well in order to join it. And in that school, it was a school of the elites, people who were well-to-do.
Yes, who come from very good schools.
But still, I was able to
compete with them.
And
that's. Do you remember which year is that?
That was 1968.
That's when you joined the senior one?
Yes.
At Namagunga?
Yes.
Okay.
So I joined S1 in 1968 up to 1972. That is when I sat for my O-level examination. At that time it was called East African Certificate of Education.
I've never heard about that. You know, today's interview is a bit challenging because the stories we are listening to, some of us, we have never heard about it, like East African Certificate. For us, we are used of Uganda Certificate.
Certificate.
It's a bit different. Mami nga tetunaba kumala senior 4. Wojoininga ono muzungu yakuwerera ku St. Mary's Namagunga because that's a very expensive school and the international school. So si changu a village parent to decide from Manaf and say I'm taking you to that kind of school.
No, it was my parents who did it, but they were farmers. My father was a veterinary field assistant. But my mother was a housewife, but she was very hardworking. And we had coffee, so they would put heads together and they would afford that fees. And at that time, it was 650 shillings.
650 shillings.
I don't know, it would be around maybe 650,000, I think.
Around there. Mitwalo nga nkaaga mu etaano.
Yes, mitwalo nga
value eri ne value is so different.
I could just estimate it to almost that. But it was 650 shillings. Nga ne nusu chikumi oziraba nga nyingi. Nga nyingi.
Nga kikwetaagisa otundayo ensawo y'emmwanyi olyoka ofune.
N'ensawo y'emmwanyi nga eyinza obutawera nusu kikumi.
Ekyo ndigamba nga nti nyingi. Wakati saa zino ensawo y'emmwanyi ekola emitwalo kumpi 3 mu. Ensawo emu ey'emmwanyi. Kakati webanga by then ensawo yayiteweza nusu kikumi, then tuyinza okuba worth around almost to M. Okay, so tubadde mu senior 4 osomye bulungi.
Nasomera wamu n'abaana nga bava different places. They were from even whites were there, even Indians were there. So it was a school that was well sought after by the parents. It was a good school. So after S4, I had a bit of challenges, so I decided to join Mbale SS for S5 and S6.
How did you perform in senior 4 based on the competition and the school?
Well, sometimes you relax a bit and you find yourself not performing so well, but still I got first grade.
That's good. So you joined the A level?
I joined the A level, but this time I joined the Mbale SS. And in Mbale SS we used to stay in the hostel, and I was able to finish my A level. In Mbale SS, I was a head girl there, and of course I really liked my education there also. I had come with some standards from the other school.
Okay. So it helped you so much. The foundation helped you so much.
Actually, the foundation helped me to be somehow a celebrity there. Because even when it came to campaigning for headship,
so, somebody from St. Mary's.
Yes.
Oh, that was so powerful.
Yes.
So it was an advantage to you.
And actually, my foundation there was good because it helped me, it groomed me in. I was naturally a quiet girl, but by passing through that school, it made me learn how to be eloquent, how to speak to people, and so on. And how to express myself.
Before you go further, njagala oyogereko n'abazadde nga balonda amasomero we batwala abaana baabwe. Because you are telling us you're from Manafa, but when you explain the schools you went through and how they helped you, it means that school matters a lot to a child. It's not about getting a certificate, but where you take your child matters a lot. I want to advise somebody who is watching us right now, waba alonda amasomero nga alinamuko obusobozi obutono, yandironza ati okusinza ku gwe gye wayita.
Nze ndowooza nti yandironze essomero nga lirina culture ennungi. Ekyokubiri nga lirina eddiini. Mount St. Mary's Namagunga Machas, it was a Catholic founded school. It groomed us well. At least it instilled in us the spirit of what? Integrity and respect and fear of the Lord. Because much as some of us were not Catholics, because I was not a Catholic by family status, we were Protestants. But at least when I was there, the way they were conducting themselves, the way the nuns were grooming us, the way I grew up knowing that good behavior was paramount. And here, even when you saw an elder passing and he was holding something, you would run to this elder and say, please, can I help you? can I help you please?
Was that from the school or from home? Because there's that saying that charity begins at home.
Both from home and from school. Okay. Even at home, I was a very humble child. I was so respectful. I was hardworking because I was always helping my mom, and I was trustworthy.
Should you credit that one to the parents?
Yes, that one was my mother, especially my mother. She groomed me in such a way that I would never take something that wasn't mine. I would never take something without telling her, because there would be times when she would say, "Where I put my money here, where did it go? We are the only two people here. Where did it go?" I would tell her, "Mommy, I haven't taken it." Then she would have some words to exchange, but I would still remain humble. Work while thinking what happened. So what I would do is I would recall what had been going on the whole day. Then I would say, "Mommy, but the money you gave me to buy this," then she would say, "Oh, it is that.
It is that very money that I was looking for." Then it saved you because you were silent. It helps you because every time you respond, you may end up responding poorly to the parent, and maybe you end up being cast.
I would just explain to her in a humble way, "Mommy, I did not take it. I'm not the one." Said, "But we are the only two people here. What?" Then I would just keep quiet and start recalling. As I do my work, I recall. So eventually I would come up with an explanation that she would also realize. So right away from home, I think I was a good child. And according to her, she would even say, "I wish all of you could behave like your sister. Your sister would undergo through this and that, and would never complain."
So you were the firstborn?
I was the firstborn.
You are the firstborn?
I'm the firstborn of my mother. She's still alive.
Wow.
But quite aging, actually.
Surely. Where is she?
She's in Manafa. She's in from Ubulo, you go just slightly beyond. Upoto, that side.
What's her name?
She's called Esther, because they had those traditional names. Esther. So she was called Esther Harono. Then that was her maiden name. But by marriage, she was Esther Watoya. That is my father's name.
Esther, Mami Esther, tukutumiddeko nnyo. Abaana balabye ka video kano we mumusangira wonna. We have a very big following from Mbale there. We have some people from Mbale who follow us so much. So, Mami Esther, tukwagala nnyo, we bali commentalinga mami wafono kati gobera jajja tukwagala nnyo. Thank you for mentaling our mami. Abadde kyakulabirako nnyo gye tuli, so tuli basanyufu. So, Mami, I have a question before we finish this near 6. Aidah nga abaana abawala mufumbirwa mangu. Wali ova mu kyalo, that's Manafa. Obulamu buno wabutambuza otya? Obw'ekivubuka, obw'omubiri guleekaana, bakukwana, bakola ki? Wakisimattuka otya n'osoma up to that senior 6 where we are right now?
Now, first of all, I looked at the background I was coming from. It was deep in the village. Life was not an easy kind of life. I promised myself that I would pursue education and get myself out of that kind of life, and if possible nkwateko ne bannange, era nakikola nnyo okukwatako bannange benazaalibwa nabo. Buli we nabeera nga nsikayo omwana nga amuteeka mu ssomero. Buli we nali, my sister, who is a doctor, actually with a master's in medicine, went through my hands. I have a brother who is a lawyer. He also went through my hands. I have other brothers and sisters whom I kept grooming like that and like that. There is one who is at the moment a lecturer in Chamboko. They all went through my hands. I think she was one of the last ones that I mentored.
So what inspired you is the life where you grew up from?
Yes, the life that I grew from. I saw life was hard. It was a place that was remote. It was a place that you had to struggle in order to survive. And I saw how my parents were struggling to maintain us in school and so on. So I said, no, I have to work hard and get myself and my brothers and sisters out of this kind of life.
Yeah, Mommy, there are many girls who may say like that, but most of the time when these gentlemen or these con men come, there's a way they come with sweet words and divert their minds. What was the trick behind you that amidst all that you stood with your word and then
my word was always no. I would not give my no with a smiling face. I would always tell them I'm not interested. I'm not yet ready for that. And many, including my own uncle, would bring colleagues when he saw I had reached secondary. I was, he would even come with friends who would try to lure me into that. I would say no. I maintained my no. And even there was a time when there were certain boys who had struggled so much to engage me in something, and I refused. They just wanted to ambush me and carry me off maybe. It was a very traumatizing period. When I saw that there was a trick they were up to, I had to go to an elder. On my way back home, I had to go to him, tell him, there are these people, I think they are conniving to
do something.
Because whenever there was a place where we had two junctions. This one would lead to my home, and this one would also lead to my home. If I went this way, the other side would move towards this way. Then if I smelled something fishy and I went this way, these ones would also. I realized there was something. So I told this old man that it looks like there is a problem. So that man had to escort me until I was in a safe zone. So I said my no remained a no. Because one of them consulted me, I said I'm not interested. I remained like that.
Okay, Mommy, so we had gone up to senior 6, that's in Mbale. So
now after senior 6, I had a challenge. A challenge, it just came. It was I couldn't say I was all that strong. There came a time when I had a challenge. I found myself attached to people who came and became so friendly. They were relatives of mine. I was with them. I didn't know what plan they had for me, but I found myself attached to someone. And that someone didn't wanted me to promise that I would what? I would marry him. Well, at first I maintained my no, but then later on we came to a compromise. He happens to be the father of my children right now. So instead of continuing with my pursuit to maybe higher institutions, I saw that I was just wasting time at home. I joined a teacher training college.
After getting married to him?
We were not yet sorted yet, but I said now, if I'm to stay here, I cannot stay here doing nothing. So I joined that college, Bishop Willis.
Were you interested in education, or you had something else? You just went in education because of this issue which happened?
So I wasn't actually, at first I wasn't interested in teacher education. But because I did not want, I had those dreams that I wanted to maintain. So I decided that I should what? I should join this place. Then there was a teacher of mine who had taught me in A level. He said, I had bigger dreams for you. I don't want you to just remain a primary school teacher. But I finished that course.
Of primary teaching?
Nengumirayo nenjimala. Then he said, but don't delay, don't stay too long as a primary teacher. But still in the primary, I was doing so well. So I was in Ibula for 2 years.
Teaching?
Teaching from 78 to 80. I was in Ibula Primary School. Then the education office was told about how good I was. These people of Iganga Boys Secondary School wanted a teacher. They picked me from there and took me to Iganga Boys. The head teacher of Ibula said, please don't leave me.
So at first you went for primary teaching?
Yes.
So at Ibula, you were teaching primary?
Yes.
So then they picked you, you came to Iganga?
Yes.
That is also primary?
Iganga Boys Primary School. These people insisted that we want you in the other school. So there, I stayed there from 1980 to 1988. Now
Those are 80 years.
And at that time, I was already attached to this gentleman. Because I was after being so good to myself and me trying to maintain, I was not the type who would jump from man to man. So I said, since I promised that you would what? Become husband and wife? Okay, let us go ahead. So I was there, coming from Igang SS. He was a teacher in Igang SS. From the staff quarters, I started staying in the staff quarters of Igang SS from 1970, because I joined him in 1976. I was in Bishop Willis up to 1978. I was in Ibula from 78 to 80.
When you were with him?
Yes. I would commute from Igang SS to school. And after Ibula, I went to Iganga Boys Primary School. From Iganga Boys Primary School, I joined the NTC Kaliro for a diploma in education, because the other teacher was still pursuing me, saying, please, this is not what I expected of you. You used to be a very bright girl, and I don't want your dreams to die like that. So I joined the NTC Kaliro. And in 1990, I graduated as a teacher. A secondary school teacher. So I joined my husband on the staff. I was in the quarters during that staff quarters, but of course mingling with them. And when they saw me, they said, at last you are where you belong. So I was there up to 2002. This is when those massive transfers came around. Because we had stayed in that place, my husband had joined the technical, because he was a teacher of technical drawing and woodwork. So they had convinced him to join technical, but I now joined the staff the house that was used to belong to him as a teacher of Igangeses now came under my name, because I was now a member of staff there.
Before we go further, when you graduated as a secondary teacher, specifically which subjects?
I was teaching English language and literature.
English and literature. Okay.
And even in primary, as I was teaching English language, and I used to get so many distinctions. Whenever I go to Iganga boys, they said, we wanted to interview you and find out how you used to manufacture so many distinctions in English. What trick, what methods did you use? But it was just love for my job and love for whatever I was doing. So
now we are at Igangeses. You are teaching literature and English.
And every year the results in English would improve. There was even a time when I had 173 students in S4, 118 distinctions.
118 distinctions?
Yes, D1 and 2. 118. And the worst that year was a credit 4.
Mommy, we have many teachers who are watching right now. Please, can you give us some trick behind that success? Because teachers try so much. By the end of the day, the performance is always poor. Well, kakodio chenyo ko bado kozeseba ko akozesanga mu kusomesa ko kulabanga abaana n'atamanyi akola bulungi.
Abaana baali abanafu ennyo nabatandikirako wansi nga waaka gyembawa ye waaka ya gundi ali mu P7 naye waaka gyemutandikisako mutandikisa ya wansi nga ninya ngenda ninya naye mpola.
So you teach that person the work of primary 4.
Yes. And then I went on building their academic performance until I would get, even the child who would have gotten 9 would end up getting a credit 6, because there was even a child who the others had given up on and said, this one. I said, no, let me handle her in my way. I would get readers, these simple readers, go through with them and try to groom them, and so on and so forth, until she came. And they also loved me because of the way I was handling them. I would dramatize, I would do what, my lessons were always interesting. And some of them said, but our teacher, n'ebintu ebyeyayogeranga obwogere nga ng'olaba bize ne mu bibuuzo bizeemu bulungi. We loved that teacher.
So the trick behind, when you get somebody who is of low kigambo kyeyako sekitaluma nnyo alina obwongo nga bunafu nnyo
omutandikisa wansi
otandika omusomesa waako ya wansi biri bye yamisinga otegeera n'omuyudinga buildings bulamu bwe mpola asobola okachinga up ne wano waali.
Yes.
Kusomesa si kwangu. So tubadde
nga tobeera ku biri ebya no wa P7 bano banafu n'obasindika eri nedda ne mugamba nti everybody can have an opportunity to improve. So I would come, these ones I would give them their work, but even these ones here I would also
groom them.
Yes.
Okay. Tubadde ku Igangeses, oli musomesa bakuwadde ennyumba eyali eyabbaawo kati gwaje owninga obulamu oli butambuza bugenda mu maaso. Ku Igangeses wamalako emyaka emeka?
Ku Igangeses okutwalira wamu nga ku staff kwennyini mbala myaka 2 mu Bisoba, naye nga member of staff from 1990 up to 2002.
What is the difference between member of staff and okubeera ku staff?
Kati
ku staff bala myaka nga 2 naye ate as a member of staff.
As a member of staff, that is when you have joined the teaching staff there. Naye kubeera ku staff nga mbeera mu staff quarters ne webabeerawo emikolo munaawo obeerayo. Ojja gundi ogenda n'ebbaawo n'obeerawo n'okola emirimu gy'abbaawo.
Igange SSS wali ku good government.
Igange SSS I had already entered the government payroll.
Wamaliza bwoti okusoma diploma no graduating, then you applied for the government.
Yes.
And immediately went.
Actually, they just posted me there. Immediately.
How comes? Walila kotya.
Those days they would just post us. It was not looking for a school. You would be posted there automatically.
Immediately after finishing, the opportunity was available.
Yes.
They just post you.
Yes.
Okay.
So those days we did not even bother to say, I am now looking for a job, you apply here and there. It was automatically whatever. Posting.
Kale, tuli ku Igange SSS, tuvudde ku Igange SSS. Ova otya ku Igange SSS?
Kati ku Igange SSS, performance yange yali nnungi nnyo ng'eri exemplary. Oluzungu nga tulikola bulungi, results nga zimproving, we would have 100 and something first grades, until we almost had 3/4 of the students getting first grade. Nga oluzungu era waliyo nga buli lwokola subject n'ofunamu distinction. Distinction 1 nga baba balira 10,000 nga department. Mitwalo gundi mutwalo buli distinction gyofuna.
Buli mwana distinction yafuna gwa mutwalo.
Guba mutwalo.
Yes.
Bw'abanga afunye distinction 2 nga baba balira kasanvu. Bw'abanga afunye credit 3 nga baba 15,000. Kati waliyo omuntu eyagamba lumu n'agamba nti leero ab'oluzungu mugenda kuyoolera mujja kujja ne baskets. You will come with what you gather in baskets.
Because of your good performance.
So I left that place because of the massive transfers. And I was not the only one. Almost very many people left that place because we had overstayed there. And for me on the staff, I had stayed there for just that long, 26 years. But as a member of the teaching staff, I was there from 1990 to 2002. Then I was I went to Wanyange Girls. My transfer threw me to Wanyange Girls. Now because even there I was the director of studies, I was this director of studies, I was the head of department, I was this and that. And the people around me appreciated a lot what I had done. Now when I reached Wanyange Girls, I thought I would lie low and wave off certain things. But the people in Igange SSS told these people, the person, which class have you given her? S2, S1, S. I said, why are you wasting her in S1 and S2? That one is a very good teacher in S3, S4. You give her the candidate class and you will see what she's going to do there. So after 1 week, he told me, you are now going to teach.
Senior 3 and senior 4.
So the moment I started performing, I found the performance in English hadn't been so good. And in Igange SSS, we had introduced what we call weekly testing in English and mathematics. I started it as in the English department, then the mathematics also grabbed the opportunity, and we would do that. Now when I reached Wanyange Girls, I introduced that there.
The same system.
The same system. So at the end of the year, the previous year they had only 8 first grades. Then the moment I
introduced
this system, English improved so greatly that we jumped from 8 to 31 first grades. They said, it looks like there are somebody said that, and she's my in-law because she took my son. My son took her daughter. Said, it looks like some departments here have been holding our first grades somewhere. Now this one has brought them here. Gwe obukola otya obuti obujewa ngamba nti mukama mwenyeri yakikoze. Kati ne tugenda nga tuimprovinga bwe tutyo, era bwe natuukayo nze sigamba nti waliyo essomero lye navaamu nga tebanjagala. Every school I went to, I would leave while people still wanted me there. And in Igangeses, the comment the headmistress I found there said, he said, when they wanted to trim the staff, they transferred other teachers, but I was there. Said, of course I look at the staff, like in this department. You cannot make a mistake of transferring Mrs. Birabi. That woman works. I was everywhere. I was in the dormitory. I was there everywhere I was. And I loved what I did. I was doing.
That's great. Mami, before we go further, in Busoga here, where we are, you have been working in Busoga. We have some issues. Whenever there is somebody performing well, somebody is better, is loved, there is that battle, there is a war that develops in the staff, in the co-workers. Did you encounter such kind of life in Igangeses or Wanyang maybe?
In Igangeses, I think I did. There was a certain member. He was even head of department. When he saw that I had because you would go up with your class until you finished S4 with it.
With them, senior 1,
senior 2, senior 3, up to senior 4. Now when my year, we harvested so many distinctions, and then they said, oh, all these ones going to all these distinctions going to one person. She was
very annoyed.
So that one was there with her, but for me, I never took it bad. Such people are always there in society.
So you just ignore them and then move on with what
carry on. And when she shows you enmity, you just don't reciprocate his enmity. Just continue being good. She doesn't greet you, you greet her. Whether she answers in whatever mood, you have done your part.
Okay, Mami, you have been transferred to Wanyang girls, and then in Igangeses you were married with your husband. Whenever you could get a transfer, you transfer together, or how did you do it now?
Now, by the time I came to Wanyang girls, I think he had more or less reached retirement age. He stayed in Iganga Technical for just a short time. He would come and visit us, go, come and visit us, go, and until eventually in 2006 he retired from government whatever service.
Okay. So
but I was still in the government service.
Okay.
So we kept on like that. So eventually we were with him there for some time. but he loved home very much. He said, I better go back home and we start developing home.
Okay.
I saw that it was a good idea. He went. It took long for his gratuity to come, but eventually he came, and at that time it was not enough when building was hard. So he built up to a certain level. So what I would do, I would gather whatever I have, I would put it between, paying fees for the children and giving him something to improve on what was
By
there.
then you had how many children?
I had 7 children.
By then, by the time you joined the one young girls.
I had 7 children.
So
I had actually finished all.
You had finished actually, because you had 7, then you had finished.
Actually, my second born, who happens to be the girl who we are we fellowship with at
This
church.
engineer.
She was born in Igangeses, when I was in Igangeses. And all the others, apart from the very first born whom I came with, the others were all born in Igangeses.
Okay. Most teachers, they complain that they face a lot of challenges when they are pregnant. Sometimes there is a way the staff treats them. And did you face the same challenges like other teachers they face these days?
I don't know, but I think I can call myself lucky. Of course, as a pregnant woman, you all face those funny whatever. But I never slackened in my work because of that. I would try my best to see to it that I fulfill my responsibilities as a teacher.
Okay. So you have.
And I was hard working. Even in my home alone, nga bw'obuuza okuva ku luguudo nti ngenda waaki, ogenda w'oli omukyala alina ebintu bingi, nga ntunda, nga nkola buli. I was active. I may not have been so whatever, so outspoken and so on, but I would do my work diligently, and both at school and in my home. Whenever I would land, I would turn that whole compound into home. I would have structures for different animals, structures for even gardens. When I left Igangeses, I left a garden of matoke and so many fruits in the compound. The person going there said, she also, because it was a cross transfer. The other person who was there wouldn't have let me go if she had stayed, but she also went away. So the person coming from Wanyange Girls went with
to
Igangeses and went with his people, with her people. So the person entering my house said, this woman left all these things here. Even the first, after a few months, they brought me food. Food from the gardens that I had left there, and fruits and so on. So,
Mami, should we say you were not depending only at the salary? You had other things that you could do, not just looking at the office work, at the monthly income?
No, I was doing a lot of work outside.
How did you balance the time? Because with the teaching, there's out of work you do, how did you balance your time and say that you have some animals, you are farming, and then you are...
No, I taught my children to work. And even after some time when this girl had married, the one in church had married, she came back and said, Mommy, thank you for teaching us how to work. At least I was not an embarrassment to you where I went.
Yes.
Because I would teach them to cook, and cook using firewood. I would afford the gas, I would afford what? but I also wanted them to grow up knowing the different kinds of life. When it came to garden work, what I would do, I would have a tractor plow for us. Then I would say we are now going to heap potatoes. The whole hectare, we are going to heap potatoes. I'm going to employ outsiders, but you, as my children. Now, first of all, give me these heaps, number of heaps for the family. Then the remaining heaps, I'm going to give you money. They would work, making sure that they finish the ones for the family, and then they work for money.
Them.
Yes.
Then, I like that system.
Yes.
It makes a child to work hard.
Yes, and not knowing that when they buy certain things, they are helping you to.
Exactly.
When they are going to school, you are supposed to buy them ABC, but they have helped you to buy some of those things themselves. So instead of giving this money to the outsiders only, I would also give them. Then there was a young man who stood and looked at these children and said, if you get a wife from this home, within just a short time, you will find a hectare of what? Of potatoes. Heaped and planted. So when I saw that the planting was overwhelming for me, I said, now I pay for a heaped a planted.
So they heap and then
they go and look for the potato vines.
So that's how you groomed them.
Yes.
When they are hardworking.
And in the house, I would make sure that if it is your turn to cook, you cook, you do what, everything, they would cook in turns. During holiday time, I would dissolve the work of the housemaid. I would say now we work in turns. Even the housemaid should also have a day when she is not working, she is resting, and you are serving her. And whenever I would serve food for me, I would not say this one is a maid, this one is my child.
No segregation.
I would serve the plates. Whichever plate you pick is yours. Whether I have cooked chicken and you look, you are eyeing if the maid is the first to pick it, it would be hers. I never segregated. So they grew up knowing how to work. Today, who is cooking, so and so. Who is cleaning the house? Who is
including
doing
the
this?
Boys.
Yes.
They
All
could
of
also
them.
have their days of cooking.
Yes.
Let's say today is Elisa cooking, tomorrow is Janet cooking.
Yes. And then I also had this issue of, I introduced what they call Irish potato sumbis. They call them sumbis, potato pies, but sumbis. I started it slowly. I would fry these things and then pack them as sambusas. They sold like hotcakes in Igangeses. I would collect money from the canteen. In the morning, we would all organize. I would get sacks of Irish. We peel together as a family. We cook, we prepare, and we fry, and then we pack. By 6,
when you are done,
we are done with everything. Then we wake up at 5. By 6, we have already packed, because we would do it in turns. These are packing, these ones are packing, someone is at the frying pan, and so on. So that we have the finished product the other side as we go through the world. By 6:30, they would be at the canteen. I used to get a lot of money from that. It is what used to help me supplement on
the salary.
On the salary. When I went to Wanyang Girls, I introduced the same. Oh, there was the mayor's wife who ate those things. She liked them. She was whenever I would not cook those, he said, what am I going to eat today? Nga birungi biwooma.
Abaana bano abaana bo ku upbringing wali kwiga ng'esese ovudde mazozaala last born oze wano kakati abaana washiftinganga nabo bali mu bisulo nga bajja buzi dadi agenze mu kyalo. So mwakibalansinga muti eky'abaana bano kati olwo?
Abaana nasigala nabo nga bawummula ne bakomawo ku Wanyange Girls. In Igange says there was someone who commented, he said, "My dear, come and see. There is someone here with very nice, beautiful black children." Yes. They grew up because I was hardworking. I made sure that they had milk, they had eggs. I had cows. And when I left that place, I sold some of them. So I sold them to the Reverend. He died recently, Reverend Jesse.
The cows.
I left. First of all, I left them with him because I couldn't carry them this side. But eventually, he went on buying them one by one until he finished them.
Okay.
And in Igang, in Wanyange Girls, I also started with one cow. Then when I came here, I still had my cows.
So from Igang, you retired from the government when you were at Wanyange Girls?
Yes.
So by the time you retired, you were still just a teacher, or you had upgraded to being a teacher?
I was just a teacher.
Okay. So
now I came here for invigilation for two terms. I mean 2 years. I was here in 2013 as an invigilator, chief invigilator. Then 2014. And when I told these people I'm retiring, they said, "Hey, this lady is good. We better convince her to come back and work for us." So that is when I eventually decided. When I said, then the others said, "Why don't you ask to what? To stay on?" I said, "Let me go. Maybe you might find that the outside of this place is also good." Because these people had already contacted me. So I divided the property. I sent some to the village and brought some this way.
There's something I've liked in your, when you are telling us about your husband, that he went in the village, then he constructed it, then you started working as you helped him to finish up the house, as well as educating
the children.
Handling finances, because you have challenges with finance. Both of you were teachers, you were earning salary, and you had other source of income. How could you handle your finance to the level that you even reached the level of paying for school fees?
For me, there was never money that I called mine. Yes. If the children had any challenges, they would always approach me. "Mommy, we don't have this. Mommy, they are asking for school fees." They would rarely go to the father. I would solve the school fees issue. He was also hardworking. He was working in the workshop. He being a teacher of technical drawing and woodwork. He would make certain things that are very interesting, plates, cups, those things that are ornaments. He would make a trophy out of wood, carving it on a machine.
He's gifted.
He would make a tray of wood, carving it on a machine. And he would also use this whatever and make a tray out of it. So those things supplemented on our income. So putting his and mine together, we would pay the school fees for the children. I never said this is my money and this is your money. Our money was our money together. Of course, I wouldn't bring it and give it to him and say, here is my salary, but I would solve the problems as they come. And that is the gift that I think it is the advice I give to the couples.
Younger couples.
Once you are married, get married for real, become one as the church says we should, and always make sure that you do your things together. Never say, neterekera kyange nedda. Marry someone wholeheartedly and do your things together. That is the only way to develop. The only way to handle financial issues is when you work together as a couple. And I have done it. I know even my children will do the same because they have seen me growing them up doing that. I don't think that any daughter of mine would say, this is my money.
So tuwalinayo sente ya chikazi, nakuzubira sente ya chikazi. Eno sente ya chikazi.
Teriwo.
Zaali sente za mwenna nga muzikozesa mwenna.
Nga tuzikozesa ffenna, nga bwe wabeerawo ekizibu, nga tukwata eno, oba solving that problem.
Yeah, on the issue of the family still, otugambyeko nti wayambako batoobo okusoma, ne bagraduatinga ne kye bafuuse leero. Wakikola otya, walinga nabo kubanga ozobeera mu secondary schools, primary schools, wakwatangayo omuntu ojja n'omuteeka ku staff n'obeera naye ng'asomera awo?
Yes. I would get them from home.
Yes.
And put them where I am. If they were in primary, I would still have them in my house and make them go to those schools that I know would teach them and they pass. Like the doctor, the one I told you, the doctor. She was in my class, in the class with my daughter. This one at church. The one with Carol, let me call her Carol. And now Carol, funny enough, I was the class teacher. In that class there was my daughter, there was my sister. Now my sister became the singer to the whole class. She was the singer to my daughter, and she became the singer to the whole class.
So that's how you handled it.
I would bring them, have them with me. I would say so and so, send him or send her to me. I would have them in my home. I would make sure that I take them to school. I would make sure that they excel in school if I could help it. So that is how I did it.
There's a lot of things to learn from your story, from your life with an episode that's Paul said tulibaluwe somwako your episode that when we hear what you went through and how you made it, it's a challenge to most of us. Nga tetunaba kumaliriza ojoinize Masese girls after retiring. But otugamba nti life is so hard we retiring okuva mu government. Kulambuka lubanyo obuzibu bwa kutambuza obulamu wabusanze otya ng'omaze retiring nga ovudde ku government payroll.
Now, when I retired and left the government payroll, actually my gratuity did not come immediately, even my pension. So that is one of the reasons why I said, let me accept these people's offer. Because now how am I going to the village? Nga abaana bakiraba mama kati ogenda mu kyalo. How are we going to... Then I said, no, it is okay, let me continue a little as I wait for the other side. And I thought I would stay here for only 2-3 years until my gratuity comes in. But